All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back in Betsperts Golf here for the first look of a couple events. The 2024 Zurich Classic team event. We have a live golf event this week in Australia. I'm Ryan Noonan here flying solo for you this morning. Kind of a unique week, obviously. The RBC Classic, RBC Heritage, just in the books. They had to come back out, obviously, here this morning on a Monday morning to finish what was apparently inevitable. Another Scotty Scheffler win, another Scotty Scheffler dominant performance, guys. Like, I don't even know what to say here with Scotty coming in and finishing things this morning. Scheffler wins 19 under, 3 shots clear of anybody after getting off to, I don't know, for his sake, I guess you would call it a slow start. You had some guys go out early on Thursday, put up some numbers. JT Poston goes out and, has like 7 under real quick. And Scotty kind of kicks it around for the first handful of holes. And all of a sudden, 4-1 Scotty is like 10-1 in the live market. So I jumped on Scotty live at 10-1 because we just don't think we see those numbers with him anymore. And sure enough, that was those were gone pretty quickly. I mean, you probably actually had longer than 10 because when I grabbed 10, I think he stumbled for the next couple of holes. But just absolutely wild performance right now with Scheffler. The field has to be absolutely exhausted to see this guy climbing the leaderboard every week. Just to think that some guys who played some really good golf and are not winning golf tournaments, it's got to be really, really frustrating. You cannot wait for the birth of this child. Get this guy off the tour for a couple of weeks, let him go be dad, and then come back and hopefully maybe that, gets him off his game or whatever. That's pretty much the only hope for what's going on right now. And before we dig into any of that, I mean, just again, and the rabbit hole provides such a unique opportunity to like really showcase how Scheffler is separated from his peers, which is a lot of fun to do. I'm not going to do that this morning. I've done that through some tweets and we've done it through some content and stuff, but man, it is just absolutely remarkable. I love stuff like this. Like I get that it's boring. I get that it impacts what we're doing from a golf outright betting standpoint. And that's frustrating because betting 4-1, 350 outright winners changes kind of the calculus of how people do this. I think for the most part, you have one of two buckets with how people bet golf outrights. And I could be wrong. I mean, jump in the chat, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if I'm wrong and you bet outright's completely different. I think a majority of people do it one of two ways. You either have X amount of dollars per pick, meaning like, hey, no matter what, my outright bets are this much money. I'll bet $20 on whoever I'm betting to win outright. Or it is a allocated pool of money in which you can bet kind of a like consistent to-win price, meaning that no matter what, I'm going to win $500 regardless of who wins. If I bet, say, 4 to 5 guys, I'm going to win X amount of money. And then my bet size is structured based off of the price of the golfer, right? So either way, it makes it really hard to shoot your shot at Scotty at 4-1 because, if you are, say, in the $20 example, $20 on an outright, like whatever, you're still going to win that money on Scheffler at 4-1. Not a thrilling victory per se in terms of backing an outright winner. Picking a guy to win a golf tournament, and there's in this instance 68 guys, but in a lot of instances 144 or whatnot, you probably want a little bit better return. Or if you're of the mindset of I'm allocating X amount of dollars to bet into this to-win pocket, and whatever you determine that to be, well, that Scheffler ticket gets really expensive. It makes it really hard to back anyone else and to increase your player pool. You kind of have to hone in depending on your budget. And maybe even in some instances, like you can't get Scotty to that range based off of his price, which I understand, which is really, really difficult. And I talked about this last year when we kind of were shifting into this new world of golf outright betting and new world of divided tours and small field, no cut signature events that having to be adaptable to the new environment is going to be really important. You are going to have a more shallow pool. Your midsection, where a lot of people like to live in terms of golf outright betting, say that like 30 to 60 to 1 range, where a lot of winners come from year in, year out. That doesn't really exist in a 67-man field like we had last week at the RBC Heritage, and no cut event, right? Like, and in the field where you have really, for the most part, the best of the best, right? We didn't have a Decky. We didn't have Hovland. And we can make a case that was okay. That was not affected by what happened here this week. It gets really truncated in terms of who's actually has win equity in a pool of players that involves Scotty Scheffler right now. Like, can you shoot your shot in that 30 to 60 range? Look, and he can lose, right? He's lost recently. He came in second to Steven Yeager a couple weeks ago in Houston. So it's not like you can't have someone in that range that can go out and beat him. We don't want to be completely lost in the moment, but in reality is it's just very difficult. It's very difficult right now. He is, again, we can make the case that kind of got away with a handful of not his A game performances in this streak, where we now have win-win, second win-win, and he's gained strokes putting in all 5 of those events, albeit just barely this past week, but still he's flat to the field or positive, and that's was kind of the MO last year. It's like, you just get this dude flat to the field and he's going to be winning every week. And here we are, because the ball striking stuff last year was immaculate as well. So I don't know, guys. It's really it's impressive. We'll get a little bit of reprieve when the baby comes, and that's, I think, all we could do at this point. Otherwise, I just find a way to break off of what your preconceived notion of golf outright betting is, because you kind of the dude's kind of changed the game a little bit right now. It makes it really, really difficult to attack these things, because he's in the mix. He's in the mix, and you kind of have some of the stuff that we had back in the day with Tiger. Is the guys would be so frustrated when you would just see him in the leaderboard lurking, even when he was not at the top. It's just like, man, he's around, he's hovering, and he's going to always put himself in contention. And now he has so many reps, and there's just no weakness to the game. He's won here. That's the impressive part of this last little run. These are not like one-stop shop tracks. We're winning on uniquely different golf courses. Harbor Town is not Augusta, is not Bay Hill. Obviously there's some, Pete Dye stuff with Sawgrass and what we had last week at the Heritage, but like length is a little bit different. Like, he's just doing it in pretty much any way. Sometimes you can get in a stretch on the tour where, and maybe that's what we have coming up, but like there's similarities in terms of the courses. Like, he's winning on different tracks. So there's just really no way to it's just impressive. It's impressive, man. So yeah, he will not be in the field this week. He's not playing in the live event. He is not in the team event. So we have a without Scotty week, which is, I guess I'm sure a nice little exhale for the tour. The golfers teeing it up this week, and for everyone involved. So yeah, it's just a super duper impressive run. And I got some futures on some of the majors coming up. I got one of those, again, long shot 80 to 1 to win all 4 majors. Like, it's crazy to think about, but that's like 50 to 1 now. So like, we're in kind of, rarefied air. I think it's cool to watch. I know some people find Scotty himself boring. Some find like one dude just kind of knocking everyone around pretty boring too. I like to witness greatness, and we're kind of seeing it, and it's kind of fun to watch. So not your thing, totally get it. But yeah, take advantage of these weeks where he's not here. Unfortunately, challenging week to handicap this week. Zurich Classic team event. We do have some opening odds here, courtesy of our friends over at DraftKings. Let me pop this up here. It's a little bit easier for you to see. If you're not familiar, this is a unique little wrinkle in the schedule, in years past, we had a couple of wrinkles. We had match play taken away this year. Team event was another wrinkle. And some people love it. Some people don't. I think it's a better watch than it is a betting event. I think it's probably a better DFS event than a betting event, but I'll let the DFS guys tackle that on Wednesday. Subscribe to the channel here. Come back on Wednesday afternoon with Ron Kloss, PGA Splits 101, and Byron, the Model Maniac. They'll take you around the DFS strategy because it is unique. We are dealing with there's a handful of unique elements to this event, which is why I don't love it from a betting perspective. We have 80 teams at 2. We have the top 33 and ties making it to the weekends. And the format is unique. We have best ball on Thursday. So 2 players, the team, whoever's the best score, they both play their own ball. Whoever's the best score, that's the score that's used. Those are the low scoring days for the most part. Allows you to be a little bit more strategic in terms of, aggressive first shot, second shot, who's going off and those things, because, based off of what your teammate does ahead of you, you have to make some decisions based off of what's going on there. So that's a unique element to it. And you typically see some lower scores in that scenario. And then on Friday, it is alternate shot, which typically not the lower scoring days. Alternate shot just is a little bit more challenging. Then you get a cut, and then we go right back to the same thing. Saturday, best ball. Sunday, alternate shot. Now, you had to score here last year. I think the winning score was 30 under, which will get it done. Again, a lot of teams making their hay in that best ball format. And some solid teams, some familiar teams that have come back, and some teams that are newly formed that make some sense and have some obvious win equity. Now, here's some other pieces. This is another Pete Dye track, and we had Sawgrass. We just had last week at Harbortown. The Dye designs are unique. They're fantastic. They're aesthetically pleasing. There's a lot of fun and nuance comparatively, based on some boring cookie cutter courses we see on tour. They are designed to bring pretty much everyone into play. It takes away in most instances, distance is mitigated on Dye tracks to bring people in play. It's a lot of strategic, positional golf, which I think, again, brings the fields in, makes everyone a little bit closer. We also have no shot link data here as well. So that makes it a little bit more challenging. There's nothing here to be able to tell us year over year where things are happening. That makes it a little bit tougher to use the rabbit hole. Also, there's a team element. So, and there's alternate shot. So all right, I could say that the X player is really dialed in right now on his approach shots from 200 plus yards, and there's a good amount of them here. Well, what if he handles fewer than his teammate even, right? He barely has any. That makes it a little harder. So in terms of statistically modeling and profiling players, you can go through it and do some rabbit hole work, but it's hard. It's a hard week to really kind of pinpoint. It's more of a strokes gained feels week, strokes gained vibes. It's, do you want to back a guy that you like, or maybe a team that you think has some good chemistry? We have a handful of brothers this week, some brother teams. We have the Hoygaards in here. We have the Fitzpatrick brothers in here this week, and we have the Cootie brothers. So maybe you want a brother team to get it done. We have the Disgusting brothers at the top of the odds board here again. Patrick Cantley, Xander Schauffele. They won a couple years ago here. This is the ultimate Cantley Xander win, because both of them it's been a minute. We're pushing 40 events since either of these guys have won. And look, I don't say that sparingly, winning golf tournaments is hard, but for them to capture the Zurich team, his Zurich Classic team event would be pretty much on point. We have the Irishman with Rory and Shane Lowry, 8-1 here. I get some of the I guess young gun California boys with Thigala and Zalatoris, 11-1. And again, Monday morning shop these odds. They are out at most spots now. Morikawa and Kurt Kitayama at 16. It's kind of its own tier, you could say, are those four teams. And again, it makes sense. They all have your upper echelon caliber players on their team. And then you get down to some more balanced teams, the Hoagie, Mav McNeely team, the Fitzpatrick brothers. And then you get into some of the Canadians with Pendrith and Connors, the Hoygards, Taylor Montgomery, Ben Griffin, Sepp Straka, Bryce Garnett, Nick Taylor, Adam Hadwin down there at 40. We see some other guys there at 40 as well. So again, we can look at some things here. We'll be able to dig into Ron's preview on the course a little bit. This used to be a normal tour event. This is the 6th year of the team event. But even then, obviously we didn't have shot length data. So we have wide fairways. Rough is not super penal. Driving distance is, I think, always an advantage, but not something that is played massively as an advantage here. But again, build a narrative. We don't have shot length data to back it up per se. So, build, I think you can do one of two ways. You can build and just like kind of lean into a golfer archetype and hone in on that profile making sense, or kind of balance it and go, hey, I'm going to go with a Bombers team. I'm going to go with a team that's a little bit more, accurate off the tee, second shot stuff. And I think obviously second shot's always going to matter. Greens and reg is mattered here over the last handful of years. Again, before it was a team event, I think 7 of the last 11 winners were inside the top 10 in greens and regulation for the week. It is one of the easier stops to get a green in regulation. You can't gain an approach because we aren't tracking that per se, but we do have some longer holes too. Par threes are 200 plus. I think all of them are, and you had about 30% of the approach shots tracked are over 200 yards as well. So again, you can look at that, track that data, get a sense that, hey, I need to look at some stuff that's over 200 yards. But again, you don't know which of the teammates is going to do it. So even if you have a spot where you think, this is an advantage for you, it might not be, because that guy might not be the guy that's actually hitting the golf shot. So, all right. Yeah, I mean, I can walk you through some stuff, but I don't really think it's going to be super useful for, like I said. But look, I would look maybe down the board, splash down the board. There's some teams that I think are interesting. Otherwise, see if you want to bet some live. There are, so there's let's look at live odds here. We are in Australia. Again, be a nice week for live if they were stateside. Maybe you can watch tape delay on CW if that's your thing, because not going up against an awesome PGA Tour event would be a nice spot for them. But let's see. John Rahm, shortest at plus 750. Bryson right behind at 8-1. Neiman at 9-1. Hatton at 11. Gooch, your defending champ for this event, at 11 as well. Cam Smith going to the homelands at 11-1 as well. Dean Burmeister, 16. Louis, 22. DJ, 22. Abe Answer, 22. You see some viable names here. Interesting to see Brooks, 28. Just betting on a guy that's just significantly better than almost everyone listed above him. Probably a great way to approach it. Another spot where we don't have obviously any shot length data or any data of what's going on at this course. They did again play here last year. They played here in April again, so we do have same time of year, which is nice. Gooch went 62-62 in rounds 1 and 2 to get a nice little cushion. He tried to give it back on the final round there, but it wasn't enough. He still held on and won by 3 strokes. When you look at the leaderboard, Lahiri, it's in second place, not a long hitter. Patrick Reed can win and play well on long courses, but obviously can fare well when it's a little bit shorter too. Cam Smith, T3 with Cam Tringali, Pat Perez as well at T3. So, some not long hitters. Again, it's a par 72 playing at around 6,900 yards. So relatively short comparatively to what we see most of these guys teeing up at these days. So Brooks was 7 shots off the lead, played decent, 69, 65, 70 here last year to finish T11 with a big group of guys. And again, take all this in context. Again, we had 49 guys teed up here last year, so T11 is it's all relative. But he was 12 under and 7 shots off the lead. Just looking at his price compared to who the rest of these guys are, he makes a lot of sense. But it's just as a matter of motivation for Brooks more than anything. So again, unique week to handicap golf because we don't have shot link data. So it is a feels week. It's shot pricing week, and it could be maybe it's more of a DFS week because there's some unique strategy on the team side for the Zurich that could make things interesting for you if that is your cup of tea. Otherwise, maybe a little pause in a little lighter card break. It's probably good for all of us here and there. Reminder to head over to the site, betspertsgolf.com. You can check out lots of great content. The subscription over there gets you access to all that we're doing over there as well. Again, lots of unique tools. Again, I have this brought up. I'm not going to walk you through the rabbit hole, but we do have some other cool tools we don't showcase here. I don't play a lot of DFS. I'll make 3 lineups in a week and I'll build them by hand. So I don't use a DFS optimizer very much, but we have one and it's really cool. The more I played around with it, if I was playing, and again, you can mess around with how many lineups you're building. Again, it's not going to have anything, I don't think, in here right now because we're still getting Harbortown stuff in here, obviously. So, but again, really cool. Mess around with the different slates if that's your thing too. Obviously you have DraftKings and FanDuel as options to play around with here too. You can mess around with the inputs if you like. These are based off of some projections that we have on the back end, but a really cool, unique feature. And again, we don't do a great job highlighting it, to be fair. So if you are a DFS player, the optimizer, you can set all sorts of different rules. And I think this is a great week for rules in terms of how you want to build your lineups because it is a team event. Another cool tool that we have, if you like to bet matchups, we have a custom simulation where you can look at 3 balls, head-to-heads, those 6 shooters that come out pre-tournament. You can mess around with round by or event, different markets. You can mess around with how ties are treated depending on your book. Obviously, you should know that for sure. Are ties a void or ties a loss? Because it will price it differently. You simply put in your golfer, the 2 golfers that you're looking to match up. You enter the odds from the book that you see, and you run the simulation, and it'll tell you, well, let's just see. I mean, this is obviously going to have stuff from last week. So let's see what Scotty was. I'm going to have to make up odds. See what Scotty was against, let's see. Everyone like Cam Young coming into the week, myself included. Let's say Scotty was minus 180 versus Cam Young. And poor Cam, we'll make him plus 145. Minimal hold for the books. Again, it tells you right here, once you hit run simulation, again, I'm making up odds, but you can actually use the odds from the book. It will tell you what is the actual break even. So basically, play to. Our projections would have liked this all the way to minus 359. Nice green number here on Scotty would make Scotty the play. So again, you can mess around with, say you like to play around with first round 3 balls. You can go ahead and click 3. After the 3 golfers do the same thing, go round by round, go round instead of event, and you will you'll get your price. So again, other tools that we have outside of the rabbit hole, which again, in and of itself is a fantastic, worth the subscription. I'm telling you, it is awesome tool. So check that out too. We do, if you play DFS, have a great optimizer and the matchup tool as well for you. So appreciate you coming and hang with us this morning. Again, I'll do our best through content to lead you the right way this week. But again, it is a tougher week to mess around with the rabbit hole and do some of those things. So appreciate you guys. Subscribe before you take off. Thumbs up on the video. Appreciate it very much. And again, come back on Tuesday for the betting show, Andy and myself. and then Ron and Byron on Wednesday for the DFS show. Appreciate you guys.